Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk.
Connection.
Today, SolFul Connections is lucky enough to have with us Christy Girard, who is a couples and family therapist, taking joy in helping couples and families navigate their relationships, which are always complicated, I believe, from an outsider looking in. I'm not an outsider in the world of relationships, but I am an outsider in knowledge of how to effectively kind of navigate these complex relationships. So, Christy, welcome. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Thanks for having me, Amanda.
I want to just open it up by asking what is like lighting you up these days? What is making you happy?
Well, I was thinking about that, and the thing that I'm finding the most exciting outside of the work is connecting with the people that do the work. So connecting with other, what I would call carers or other helping professionals, and building a community for myself and really for each other. So
Yeah.
I've been doing that. I'm in the Berks County area, and I've really been reaching out and connecting with others and just building a community of people, especially after the years of being disconnected with COVID and like we're on a Zoom right now. So I've been working to meet people. And so
In
community is
person.
what brings me alive. Yeah, in person.
It's interesting because I was with friends last night and we were talking about welcome in. When I was growing up, nobody said welcome in. They would say maybe welcome, or they would maybe say hello. And we were like, what is welcome in? Why the in? Why is everybody adding the in? So my one friend Googled it,
Mhm.
and I think it became an expression in the South in like 2010. But after COVID, it kind of became popularized because people were saying, hey, welcome in. Like you're coming in. You're coming into the store, into the restaurant, into the office, wherever it is. So I thought, oh my gosh, so interesting how that COVID time was so universally traumatic if we really think about it. And yet we just kind of went, okay, back to work, back to life,
Yeah,
but we're forever altered by it.
right, right, for sure.
And yet you're recognizing the beauty and gratitude. It kind of helped you to say, hey, oh my gosh, in person, what a beautiful thing, you know?
It truly is. And I think that we use technology for our benefit, but we're missing that connection, that actual, if you look at my office, there's space for plenty of people to sit down. And I think that grabbing a cup of coffee with people in person and being able to feel their presence makes such a difference. It really can just expand your heart, I think.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey? What drew you to become a therapist? Was that something you always wanted? Can you share that?
I think that Uh, I think some people really struggle to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, but I think for me in high school, I already knew that I wanted to be a therapist and work with other people. It started out in that kind of immature girl way where I loved drama. I loved the stories. I loved, who likes who and what's going on and who's mad at who. I loved getting in the mix of all of that. And then as I grew, I just I sought out teachers, I sought out mentors that were in that field, and I got to learn more about the interconnection of people, the relationships. I leaned from psychology in college to social work in grad school, and I had a professor in grad school that did family therapy, and the way that he talked about the connection of people and how our reactions of let's see, any kind of reaction that one person has affects all the people in that family. And if we're having an exciting moment, how the people celebrating with us can make it feel even fuller. And if we're struggling, how that connection with others can help us through. And that just created that passion for me that I followed after college and grad school and went from families to couples. And I love having more people in the room than less. I love that interconnection, the relationships, the family dynamics, the couple dynamics.
Love that because what a gift. I mean, I don't know that there are tons and tons of people who knew early on, like what they wanted to kind of be, quote
Right.
unquote. Um,
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about EFT? You mentioned that
Mhm.
that is a part of your work. I don't know what it is. Can you
Yeah.
share what it is and
Sure.
why it's important to your work?
Sure. EFT stands for Emotionally Focused Therapy. It is a therapy that started in the 80s. Sue Johnson started this. She started doing research in the 80s. She was learning about the connection between people. She was learning about attachment and what motivates us to react. What do we do? Well, let me go back to the beginning of attachment. We're born with it. When we're born, we need our parents. We need that connection with others. When we're panicked, when we're scared, we reach for our parents. We want to know, are you there? Can I reach you when I need you? And if you're there, then I'm okay. If you imagine a mother holding a baby, even nursing, they're matching their heart rate, they're matching their breathing, even their body temperature matches. When the mother is calm and with the baby, then the baby calms also. Okay, my mom's here, I'm okay. So it's the beginning of EFT is that attachment. And then Sue Johnson transferred that because as we grow apart from our parents, but then we partner, then we grow and we attach to our partner. And that attachment doesn't go away. We don't mature and never need anybody again. We always need people. We always need that connection. So that connection transfers to our partner. And she started to have curiosity about what happens when we feel that connection is threatened, kind of that primal panic to reach them. I need you. I can't reach you. Or it's so much that I can't reach you. I'm going to shut down and disconnect from the pain of not being able to reach you and feel safe.
That is so interesting. I honestly cannot imagine sitting in a room with a family trying to unravel that because, we're all so different.
Sure.
We all come with our history. Even our kids have their own history. And I feel as though that sounds so hard. Are people, open to it? Are people resistant to it?
Mhm.
Is there an age where people are like, I don't know if it's families with teens or families with young kids, or is it ever too late for families to kind of unpack?
I think that I worked with a 79-year-old woman, and I realized that even though she was saying that her mother had been gone for many years, she still missed that connection. She still had that longing, and it just really opened my eyes to we always have that longing for connection. So I think that this work can be effective with parents with little ones. It can be effective with couples who've been married for 50 years. Because in 50 years, think about physically your body's changing and you need to adjust. And what's that like to lose the person that you knew and adjust to the person that you have now?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a model that's effective because we always need others. We always have that attachment need within us.
What about if there is either a parent struggling to connect with a child,
Mhm.
a loved one, a partner? Do you Can you share any kind of like tips or any kind of things that somebody should do if they're listening right now going, things are messy? Is
Mhm.
there like a first step?
I have a 10 and an almost 12-year-old. And I think the hardest part is to slow down and to step outside of yourself and to think about, okay, what is she feeling right now? Even though I'm full of emotion and I'm reacting to what's happening and I'm trying to manage it and manage my own emotion, but I have to slow myself down and realize, okay, something kind of weird happened yesterday that I had to slow down and think, okay, she's probably having a reaction and she's 11, almost 12, but this is a big reaction for her. And I need to think, okay, what's going on in her? She may not allow me in, but if I can put myself into her feelings, then I can have empathy and sympathy and compassion no matter how she's reacting. And I'm not saying I'm an expert at it. I'm saying I'm practicing that every day. It's very hard to do.
Right. And as I'm listening, I'm thinking even somebody listening who doesn't have children to do that with a partner because we do get pretty caught up in the rightness of it all. And if
Yeah.
we listen, will we still be protecting our winning streak
Oh
or
yeah,
our right,
our
you
winning
know?
streak.
So yeah, I'm thinking that is probably a tricky aspect to all relationships.
Well, it's so vulnerable. When I'm working
Yes.
with couples and I'm asking them to have curiosity about the other person and about their feelings, first they have to tap into their own feelings, and they can reach anger, they can reach frustration, but those soft feelings that are underneath that of feeling scared, feeling hurt, feeling unseen or unloved, those feelings are so vulnerable. It's hard to see them in yourself and then to reach for them in someone else. It's easier to react.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you're working with people
Yeah.
and you're listening to everything from a small problem to a huge problem?
Mhm.
How do you divest yourself of that? Like, how do you kind of reclaim your own center?
Sure. A lot of people ask me that question, and I've been in this field. This is my only field that I've been
Yeah.
in, so I've done it a lot. And the other tricky part is that it's confidential, right? So I can't go
Right.
to someone and share all the details. And that's where community comes in. That's where connection to others comes in. At first, I would say my husband and just sharing with him. He's been the husband of a therapist we've been married over 20 years. And so
Wow.
he's definitely aware of what I go through and how sometimes I just need to express a whole bunch of things, even though I've talked all day. And I just
Yes.
chat away about things, and he's just and he's the solid kind of rock that I can process with. And then there's other things that I do. I think when we talked our first time, I talked about running, and I have
Yes.
a community of runners that I have a good running buddy that her name's April, that we met I think in 2019 before COVID, before I needed her. I met her and built that relationship, and we've run together, and we've collected people along the way, and we've done different races. It's that outlet, and that one step after the next step, and all of a sudden you've accomplished a couple miles and you feel proud of yourself and you feel reset, and you're out in nature, so you're getting the experience of the weather and the sun and all of those things. So
Yeah.
that's another passion of mine.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I have talked to so many people who run and view it as almost a version of therapy in a way, or meditation, or
Yeah.
just, um, I'm trying to relate, Christy, because I'm not a runner, but I'm always so intrigued by runners,
Yeah.
Um, and this is a really such a basic question, and you're going to know my lack of insight into the
Hmm.
whole psychological world. Um, so I was talking with a friend of mine. You just reminded me when you said, you've been talking all day,
Yeah.
and neither one of us have had therapy. I'm sure we need it. We're like these 1970s babies who we look at it from afar. And she was saying something about advice. And I'm like, oh, I don't think therapists give advice. And she's like, they don't give advice. What do they do? And I said, I guess they listen. And then
Yeah.
we just started thinking, are you allowed to give advice? What is advice?
Right.
That I know is showing you how ignorant I am. But can you share that aspect
Yeah.
of therapy, please?
What I get to do is walk alongside someone. So I get to help them to slow down. I get to help them be and to explore within themselves. So if they're coming to me and they're saying, what should I do? I
Yes.
get to explore it. Well, let's explore it. What are you feeling? What are the messages that come alive in this situation? What are you telling yourself? What do you feel other people are telling you? Unpack it and process it with them. But you're right, I'm not really giving advice on what they should do because it's really them. It's up to them on what they want to do. And also, I'm going to
Yes.
refer them to people that their role would be maybe to give advice. That could be a mentor or a pastor or a job coach or a career coach or something like that. My job is to help them to explore all the parts of themselves so that they can really see and then decide for themselves.
That sounds really powerful, actually. Um, Has anything surprised you about being a therapist? I know you've been doing it for a while, but is there
Yeah.
anything that you think, wow, that's interesting or surprising, or it's taught me something about just what it is to be human?
I think every day when I'm hearing people's stories, I'm thinking, oh wow, that's interesting, and relating it to my life and thinking like, oh, do I have that in my life, or how do I react in that situation? I think what surprised me over the years is being a therapist without kids and then being a therapist with kids.
Yes.
And when I didn't have kids, my mentors and my teachers would say, no, remember, you have the training. You can go in with these families and these parents and you can teach them. So I would go in and think, okay, I have this training. I have this expertise. But then after having kids, I was realizing, well, I didn't know what this felt like. I didn't know that
Yes.
what I was offering, how it would be to actually do it. And I didn't know the feelings of it. And my couples that come in today that have just had a baby or they've had their second baby, I feel so protective of them because I realize the fact that it looks like they have a shower. It looks like they put on clean clothes that day. They made it out of the house. They might not have slept. They might not have eaten or eaten something that's very healthy. They just, did whatever they could. They're in survival mode and they're here and they're ready to work on their relationship. So I feel that I just want to hug them and welcome them. Like you said, welcome them in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when you say that about having a baby, because I do also often think we have these babies,
Yeah.
and for so many years, we're taught, here's what they should eat.
Sure.
Here's what they should be saying. Here are the words that they should be saying. Here, you get so much information
Yeah.
about being a human, but you don't get that much information early on about their mind and their brain and their emotional states.
Right.
And I always think, wow, it'd be so good if doctors, pediatricians, when you were going there, if they said, hey, also, by the way, this is some information about the human's emotional growth
Right.
and
Sure.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's something there about why we might sometimes feel uncomfortable about it. We can
Hmm.
talk about the way they eat until we're blue in the face.
Right.
And I
I
don't know,
wonder
there's
if
something about that.
it's just more measurable and quantifiable. Like you can measure what they eat and how much they eat, but their emotions are really blurry and gray and not clear. And so it's harder to go into that and to explore that. And people, I think you're right. They kind of back away from it. So I don't know what this is. And they do what they do know.
Yeah, even little, I remember in my former life, I worked with a chamber and we had a group of mental health professionals. So, see, I did have therapy,
Yeah.
Christy. I would
Surround
steal
yourself
from
with
them.
therapy. Hey, my hairdresser is one of my best therapists. I got to tell you.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And they definitely know the drama, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But one of the psychologists, he used to say, and I remember hearing this even before I had a child, look at your child in the face. So many kids,
Mhm.
especially in this age of technology,
Mhm.
you're not actually looking. They're in the car, you're driving them someplace, you're picking them up, you're feeding them dinner, they're doing the homework. And he said something as simple as, have you looked at them in the face? And it was just really basic, but it was something I could do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Something that
Yeah.
basic. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
That basic, but that means everything. I mean, think about when you're nursing, you can look down, or when you're feeding your baby, you can look and you can gaze. And that's the beginning of attachment, is that gaze. Think about the beginning of dating your husband. Were you looking into his eyes then? Was he looking into your eyes?
right.
That's the beginning of
Right.
attachment. So that I mean, I wrote that down because yeah, have I done that lately? Have I slowed down to see them, to look at
Yeah.
them, look at their eyes, see how they've grown, see who they are right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also start thinking with kids and maybe even adults and people, have they been the recipient of like smile and
Mhm.
joy? Because you go to school and there's a test and then you have your homework, and then I don't know, if you're an adult, you go to work, and it's
Yeah.
just that like recognition of another human being that is something
Mhm.
that is basic and doable, but also vital in some
Yeah.
way.
Right. And if you think about this culture right now where we're so connected, yet we're all feeling alone, we're feeling
Yeah.
unseen. And it sounds like what you're offering right now is, hey, remember, there's people out there and they want to be seen. And a simple hello and looking them in the face will make a difference, will matter to them. Yeah.
So, Christy, you've been doing this for a while,
Over
right?
20 years.
For 20 years. Does it still bring you joy? And what about it still brings you joy?
I think that if I'm at work or if I'm out just going to the grocery store, I love stories. I love who people are and getting to know them. And if you catch me, I am going to ask you all the questions because I want to know all the things. Tell me this, tell me that. Um, when I'm in my sessions with my couples, I love hearing their stories. I love walking alongside of them and cheering for them as they're being vulnerable and feeling connected to each other and having that, oh, there they are and they're with me and I feel good. And I do. There's not a day that's been boring for me. It's always been fun to get to know people and walk alongside them.
I love that phrase, by the way. Every time you say that, I actually get chills.
Which
Walk
one?
alongside them.
Yeah.
That just
Mhm.
feels really um, comforting and a beautiful way to
Thank you.
be with your clients.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned story. I'm
Mhm.
just going to take a little bit of a turn and ask you just some personal questions like
Sure.
books. Are
Mhm.
there any books that have impacted you? Do you ever get a chance to read these days? Is life so busy it can be impossible?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming, and I feel like if you ever looked at my bookshelf, it's such a weird collection of books because I want to learn about my clients and my couples. And so I'm reading all kinds of just different things, and it could be from I'm reading a book right now on the attachment between a mother and a child, into adulthood. And I might be reading a book on eating disorders, or I'm reading a book on, oh, I can't think of anything, but just a lot related to work.
Yeah.
And so in my personal life, the books that I read might just be books. I love going into libraries and book sales and grabbing books. And I'm sure that all my books are full of connections and relationships and that inner working. Right now, what I'm reading is more of a spiritual book. It's called The Love Dare. It's a book by the Kendrick brothers. It's based on a movie that they put out called Fireproof, and it's about relationships. So it's about a husband and a wife, and it's about your own inner work and your work praying over them and getting to know them and understand them, but maybe not so much with them. The work is more just that book that you're doing just for them. So
Yeah.
it's something a friend of mine was saying, hey, let's read this book together. And so we're checking in with each other, and it has
Nice.
little work, like little steps to do and action steps. So it's been nice to reflect on that. Being married over 20 years, being married can be a routine. You can be busy with life and you're having kids, and my husband's coaching two basketball teams, and I'm taking the kids to different music lessons. So it's a good reset to be like, oh yeah, who is that guy that's sitting across the table at dinner? I forgot about him. I haven't seen him
And
in a while.
it's funny because they just like your kids and yourself, like they change.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, that's
I
good.
have
Yeah.
been, with my husband for many decades, and sometimes I go, wait, oh, I remember when you like were kind of a boy.
Mhm.
And now you're a man, and just I almost feel like you're just a different person almost every decade,
Mhm.
if not every day.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting, I find this thread through your conversation is community,
Mhm.
communal. And that just seems to be such an important part of your life.
Mhm.
Even when you're reading a book, which is a solitary experience, you're connecting with somebody on the book. Has that always been important to you?
I would say so. I mean, I found this career in high school. So it's been about that relationship. When I was in college and I was finishing college, I had a professor, and he was mentoring me on the next step. And I said, okay, I want to move on and go to grad school. And I thought that I'd have to go and get my doctorate and I'd be in school for forever and I'd be doing research projects. And he said, well, what's your end goal? What do you want to do? And I said, I want to do therapy. I want to be in the room with people. And he was able to guide me in a different direction where I could get a master's in social work versus doing research, which would have been less people and more paperwork. And that part never interested me. It was always the people and the connections that drew me in.
Yeah. Speaking of people,
Yeah.
one of my favorite questions, so random, I can't get past my love for it, is if you could have 3 hours
Mhm.
with, I used to say a dinner, by the way, with 3 people, but
Yeah.
one of my interviewees said, well, I don't like eating with people.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, you don't have to dine with them if you
Sure,
don't
sure.
want to, but you
Mhm.
get to hang out with 3 people for a few hours. They could be living in or dead. They could be people you know. They could be from history. Who would you choose?
I know I heard you ask this question on other of your episodes, and I mean, there was part of me that would think, oh, people that are gone from my life that I'm missing, and being able to ask them, tell me that story again, because I can't remember it. Um, so there's a couple people in my life. And then, for example, like my mother's father who died when I was 1, and just getting to know
Yes.
him, then the person that my mom knew, and getting to know him and ask him questions and what was life like. And then other parts would be interesting to, I mean, even going with my faith and being able to sit down with the people of Jesus's time and talk to them, hearing from them. And then even maybe an odd connection would be like Charlie Chaplin. I know it seems kind of a weird one, but I've always had an interest in him and just, his life and all the things that he did and what his life was like back then compared to, how we live today.
Yeah. Why do
So
you think?
I think it was based on that movie that came out, what was it, in the 90s, the Chaplin
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
Um, so probably some of that. And then I think from then I continued to follow just details of his life. And, I followed his family. Of course, that would be me, like followed those relationships because,
Isn't that so
yeah,
you?
of course. He still has, I think it's a granddaughter who she might be in her 70s or not, but she's still acting. She'll still pop up in things. And I feel like, oh, there she is. Like that's that connection. And so
Yeah.
it's really just the connection to people, I guess.
So fascinating. So it could possibly be Charlie Chaplin, Jesus, and the grandfather you
My
never
grandfather.
knew.
Yeah.
Would be such
Interesting
an
table.
interesting little that
Yeah.
really would be interesting. Um, what about, and this could be related, but who or what inspires you to kind of live your fullest life? Where do you seek and where do
Hmm.
you find inspiration?
I feel like if I were to, I kind of think of it like a love tank or an emotional tank where it's not so much I'm inspired by someone, but I'm refueled by people.
Mhm.
I spend time connecting with my friends and grabbing coffee or going for a run. I get busy, and so there's a couple people on my mind that I need to reach out to. But it's that time that it just is, it's refueling, that I feel energized by that connection with them, feeling seen, being able to see them and to support them. That time, like last night around the dinner table was a dinner that, my kids are 10 and 12 and they don't necessarily want to sit around the table and
Yeah.
chat. And so those moments of refueling of we all sat together, we shared a couple things together. We created that time. That's okay, I feel refueled and I can go out and do the next couple of things I need to do.
Yeah, I love that. And it is so essential. There's something so affirming when your little tribe
Yeah. Yeah, my
can
tribe.
be, together for a moment. That's why I always say for us as a family, vacation is so important. I mean, it's something that I think can be underestimated, but there's something about getting away where there's nothing. There's
Yeah.
no work, there's no school, and all you have is one another,
Yep.
and that's just so important.
Mhm.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Pet peeve. Do you have a pet
Oh,
peeve?
yeah.
Something that you find irritating?
Oh, that's a great one. I was talking with a friend last week. I was walking with her and we were sharing life together, and we are rule followers, she and we I understand that there are times that you should question the why, but we also feel like the rules are there for a reason and we should follow those rules. And I think the pet peeve is just those times when people just don't, like
Yes.
if I'm in the car pickup line and someone doesn't want to follow the rules because I don't know what's going on in their life, but the rule's there for a reason, and
I
just
know.
follow the rule and everything will go smoothly.
You could learn so much about society from just spending a couple of days watching the car pickup line. It is so, and it is so interesting to me sometimes, like the rage that can come when you are in a car pickup line.
Yeah.
It is not for the weak. So funny. And then just what does the phrase soulful living, since that's my overarching
Sure.
um entity. What does the phrase soulful living, when you hear it, what does that mean to you?
So I was thinking, like, wow, I should really answer this in the best way and sound so amazing. And what just kept hitting me was the simplicity of slowing down and being present. And so for me, it's in all those things that I was giving examples of at the dinner table, slowing down and being with my family versus, okay, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. Do they do their homework? What's tomorrow going to be like? Um, it's just being able to enjoy the moment. And I'm not the best at it. My husband could say I am thinking about the next thing. And so that's something just to remind myself to be in the present and enjoy this moment, because life is going to be chaotic and crazy. There's never going to be a perfect moment that, okay, now I will have peace and joy. You have to grab it. You have to make it happen amongst the chaos.
I think that's a perfect answer.
Well, thanks.
I was thinking about, because I meditate, one of the questions that I always ask in my meditation practice is, what is my purpose? But I ask it like every day.
Yeah.
And what's been coming to me recently is, to fully experience this life that I've been given, to be fully human. And that is what I'm hearing when you say that, to really experience this world, this life, this family, this part of my time here on earth.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can do that is through what you're saying. It's only possible if you are aware of your circumstance, who you are, where you are, whom you're with. And I think that necessarily doesn't mean, checking off a list or even being productive or successful. It means sometimes, like you just said, it's messy.
Mhm.
And we almost have to go, okay, that's
Yeah.
kind of part of it,
Right.
you know? Um, I think finally, what I would ask is, what do you return to again and again? Or if you're experiencing overwhelm, and it doesn't have to be the overwhelm that comes from being with people and taking on, you've probably learned maybe not to take on what they're talking about. I don't know. I tend to take on everything. If I'm at the grocery store, I'm taking it all. But is there a practice, your own practice, that you kind of return to throughout your life?
Sure. I think that, taking on and hearing all of these stories every day can be really heavy. My body can feel really heavy and exhausted. And the reset of it is to connect with my family and connect with my friends and running and all those things, but also my faith and being refueled through my own studies, which I may get busy with and not always do every day, but also through my community in my church and my other friends, my other believing friends, that we can share together and go back to the word and what does Jesus say and what can I learn from this? And okay, that's a resetting for me of, okay, that helps to understand who I am, and then I can go back out and hear more stories.
Well, Christy, I want to say thank you. Thanks for the work that you're doing in the world. And thanks for coming on the SolFul Connections podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the SolFul community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the SolFul Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together. And you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.